Hi, welcome back to YLOG 3rd grade worksheet lesson number 3. And to start off, we're going to be comparing numbers by using the symbols greater than, less than, or equal to. So to start off, in our first example, we're comparing two really big numbers. We have 4,000 or 462,389, and on the other side, we have 739,128. And basically, to compare these two numbers, we're gonna start off by looking at their biggest value, which is the 100,000th place. So looking at this first number, we have this 4 right here, and on this side we have the 7. And we all know that 7 is greater than 4. So that already tells us that number 1 is less than this number. So the answer is 462,389 is less than 739,128. Moving on to number 2. We're going to do the same thing, but this time both of these numbers start off of 149. So we're going to have to move down to the hundreds place. And here we see we have a 1, and on this side we have a 0. And that tells us that this number is greater than this number, as 1 is greater than 0. And so we write a greater than sign, and number 2, our answer is 149,177 is greater than 149,053. Now for number 3, we're doing the same thing, but this time we're going to use these blocks as an example. And here we can tell that this is 10 by 10, meaning that this equals 100. This also equals 100. These blocks are in towers of 10, so there's 4 of them, that means 40. And then this block also means 100. This means another 110. And there's 3 singular blocks, which equals 3. And since we're just trying to get a number, we can add these all up. So 100 plus 100 equals 200. Plus 40 equals 240. And then we have 100 plus 10 plus 3, which equals 113. And to compare these, we can look at the hundreds places and see that 2 is greater than 1. So we know that this side is greater than the other side, which is equals 240 is greater than 113. Lastly, for our last example for this first page, we have 140, or 420 plus 121 is blank to 749. And first off, to get our answer, we're going to have to add these two numbers together. So let's do 420 plus 121. Add these together, 0 plus 1 is 1, 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 1 is 5. And so this side is equal to 400 and 541. And when we're comparing the hundreds places, we know that 7 is greater than 5. So that means that this side is less than 749. We're also saying 541 is less than 749. Moving on to this page, we're defining whether the number is odd or even. And basically, whenever we're looking at whether the number is odd or even, we look at their ones place, and we see if that number is even, meaning it's either 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. And if it's odd, that means it's going to be either 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9. And remember, we're only looking at their ones place. So for this first one, we have 73. Looking at the ones place, it's a 3. And that tells us that it's odd. So this first one is odd. Let's skip to number 3. We have 7,182. We can skip all these first numbers and just look at this 2 right here. And 2 tells us that it's an even number. So we can, for number 3, 7,182 is even. Move on to the side. 8,391. We can ignore the first 3 values and look at the very last one. We have a 1. 1 is in the odd section, so that tells us that this number is odd. And for our last example, we have 3,798. Just remember, we can skip these first 3 numbers, look at this last value, which is an 8, and 8 is in the even section. So this number is an even number. Next, for this page, we're going to be using standard form to write each number. And so, since we're using standard form to write each number, standard form is basically just the regular way you write numbers. So, for this first one, we're going to be adding 5,000 plus 300 plus 8. And so first, we're going to add 5,000 and 300 together, which gets us 5,300. And then we're just going to add an 8 to it, and it just becomes 5,308. So our standard form number is 5,308. Skip over to number 5. We have 400s and 310s. 400s is basically the same as 4 100s, or 100, or 400 fours. Or I mean 100 fours and 400 ones. So basically, this is equal to 400. And 310s is equal to 310s, which locally is equal to 30. And so to get our answer for number 5, we're just going to be doing 400 plus 30, which equals 430. Lastly, let's go to our one last example. We have right here, number 9, 645. And since we're just writing out a standard form, we know that 600 is equal to 600, and 45 is equal to 45 right here. And to get our answer, we can just add these two together, which gets us 645. Moving on to our word problems. For number 1, Matthew lives in a town with a population of 14,422. Last year, there were 3,150 fewer people living in the town. How many people lived in the town last year? So let's write down what we know. We know that there are 14,000 currently living in his town, and last year there were 3,150 less. So to get our answer, we're going to be subtracting 3,150. So we can first do 2 minus 0, which gets us 2. 2 minus 5 does not work, so we're going to borrow 1 from this 4, which turns it into a 3. This becomes 12. 12 minus 5 equals 7. 3 minus 1 equals 2. 4 minus 3 equals 1. And just bring down the 1 because there's nothing under it, so you got 1 again. So the answer to number 1 is 11,272 people. Number 2. Alex lives in a city of a population of 30,812. Sonia lives in a city of a population of 30,847. Whose city has a more population? So right now what we know that Alex lives in a city of 30,812. And we know that Sonia lives in a city of 30,847. And basically we're just comparing which one's bigger or not. So looking at these first three values, we can see that they're all the same, 308. And looking at our tens place, we have a 1 on this side and a 4 on this side. And since we know that 4 is greater than 1, that tells us that Alex lives in a city of less population, meaning that our answer is Sonia.